I cannot believe I am entering a timeline where Square Enix spent an hour and a half utterly whelming me with a sequence of content announcements and screenshot-laden showcases, only to divert my attention off to a small addition in the glamour department, and that update is the one that fills me with excitement and a sense of hope that 8.0 could well be an absolute banger if they continue on that trajectory. But here we are, and I don't quite know how to feel about it. Today we're going to be talking about the recent live letter, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This will act as both a recap of the interesting parts of what was announced, but also a discussion about the odd split between the first and second live letters of a patch, Square Enix's shift in priority, and whether that is a sign of promise or something else entirely. As a quick note, if you want to support discussions about FF14, please do consider subscribing, as it really does help me. So the first live letter of a patch is one I somewhat dread, honestly. There's a lot of telling but not showing, as Yoshida shuffles through slides on a PowerPoint presentation, hesitant to give away too much without full confirmation, or showcase pieces of content that may be in unfinished states, and thus look a little worse than the viewer base would expect. So, what results are often landscape shots of an empty zone, or a singular photograph of a set of gear or piece of weaponry, and what we were told was mostly in line with that this time, too. But the heavy hitters we were expecting to hear from were clear. Beastmaster, the new limited job with some heavily promised bespoke content, 2 years after announcement, was finally due to be locked in and in some capacity showcased. The next Ultimate difficulty raid, the first since Future's rewritten Ultimate, came out back in 2024. This is arguably the most anticipated Ultimate of all time when we consider its theming, which is fairly likely to centre in some shape on the Ascians or the Shadowbringers expansion. A landmark moment if they're able to pull it off right. Occult Crescent's second zone, a difficult task to stick the landing considering just how polarizing the Southhorn was. A lot of content, all at once, and as I stated in a video just earlier this week, I was fully anticipating that something, somewhere, would slip out of the release schedule and experience a delay, or arrive in some kind of compromised state. On all 3 counts, the live letter did indeed mention them as expected, and I came out of their sections whelmed. I'll go into details in a bit, but before that I want to highlight the section that wasn't just okay to me, but instead far surpassed expectation. So near the end, Yoshida began talking about quality of life updates and mentioned glamour. Usually this is the moment where I'll tab out and start looking elsewhere, but this time around, Square Enix were cooking, it seemed. So firstly, dies are being completely reworked. Instead of wasting inventory space like there's no tomorrow, they are now being consolidated. Most of the current portfolio of dies will be condensed down into just 3 types, A, B, and C for standard dies and those from Ishgard Restoration or Cosmic Exploration. The special dies like Pure White and Jet Black, as well as their kin, are exempt from this system, but this acts as a huge space saver and will completely replace the old dies. If this is a sign of things to come in regards to the development team rethinking old systems and trying to find simple, better ways to handle them, I'm all for it, and whatever additions the next expansion brings. This is great. Now, fix the mess of currencies you've created as well, and bake them neatly into the already existing currency tab. But they also expanded the usability of the armoire. Now, as well as its current use, it can also store all job-specific gear, that being every artifact set for every job in the game at their max level range on a per expansion basis. But it also includes all dungeon gear from the 7.x patch cycle, and will include future dungeons as well as slow rollouts to include previous ones. This is firstly another major space saver, both to your armory chest and your glamour dresser, and that's great, but it also has a secondary value that means far more to me. This is in spirit the early beginnings of a glamour collection system. It may not have the same glamour compendium form we have been hoping for so long, that much is true, but it is a centralized hub for easily collecting job, event, and dungeon gear in one place with no limitation, and drawing from them to use at will or storing them on demand. It provides incentivization to procure those sets, and in the case of dungeons especially, to farm them, knowing that you can file them away neatly in a nice little collection that will slowly grow over time. I have hoped for a system like this for years and years at this point, and if they keep putting effort in to slowly expand it, I genuinely see it as a dream come true. Imagine one day being able to filter weapons and armor from all aspects of the game into the armoire, adding it to your collection. That may not even be the end goal, but for now I can hope and appreciate that the collector within me has a reason to go back and farm dungeons to build out my sets. But I do have to unfortunately chase this positivity with the aspect of the live letter that most annoyed me. Ultimate. So we got confirmation once more that we will indeed be receiving it in the patch 7.5x life cycle, but the theme will remain a secret for now, as well as the release date. Traditionally, Ultimates release 2 weeks after the main patch, alongside the 0.11 or 0.31. This was the case in 7.11 with futures rewritten, and follows tradition that many expected. But 7.5 has a different release cycle. 7.51 is over a month after the initial patch, and the date is still up in the air. There are also 2 additional content updates in 7.55 and 7.56, which are both also up in the air for locked-in dates. We will find out more at the first fan festival, just before the release of patch 7.5, but I have to admit this leaves me in a state of malaise. Not because we don't know the theme, nor because it's likely releasing later than we expected. Instead, because they are not communicating the information they have as early as possible, like with the recent variant dungeon, which was confirmed just a week before release. Whilst this isn't indicative of the majority, there is a subset of the player base, be it raiders or just those who want to enjoy a new release when it comes out for a day or two, who would like to plan their free time or even paid time off from work around new updates to their favourite game. Some may want to avoid making plans around those times. Others might want to take a few days off to tackle a new Savage, Ultimate, or even to hop into an Occult Crescent zone as soon as it launches. These are exciting moments for players, and a number want to just be there to soak it all in. Such lackluster communication is a persistent thorn in the side of that for players. And with such large time commitments like the Ultimate, it boils past the point of frustration for me. I understand that Square Enix is hesitant to repeat their mistakes of the past, where they confirmed a release date and then were forced to change it later, but there isn't any real need to confirm the release date. Just give us tentative dates, make them clear, including the fact that they are subject to change, which, by the way, Square Enix put at the bottom of the slide anyway. Communicate. Give us a baseline of what is expected, and allow us to form our own judgment on whether we want to take a risk based on that. No last minute dates or silence, that's all I ask. I'm well aware that as a hardcore raider who does make time for a new release, especially when it comes to a raid, this matters more to me than the majority, but I do also feel like solving this problem benefits the many, not just the few. So back to the other 2 highlights. The North Horn of Occult Crescent was teased, albeit in the form of only landscape screenshots. So far, there is nothing that hints towards it being a different experience than the South Horn. If you enjoyed that, you will enjoy this one. If you felt dissatisfied, pending new information, do not assume that this one will do anything to rope you back in. There are 8 new Phantom jobs covering archetypes like Necromancer and Blue Mage amongst others, and hopefully their kits are unique, interesting, and feel fun when weaved around normal jobs. The second Forked Tower will be released too, this time with 2 difficulties like the original was supposed to have. A normal difficulty that seems to be reminiscent of Castrum and Dalriada in both challenge and entry, and an extreme that more closely mimics the Forked Tower Blood in what it throws at the player. They've also fixed up entry requirements for the extreme, in what seems to be an attempt to prevent small groups of snipers ruining everybody else's fun. We got to see a tiny bit of Beastmaster, and it seems like it actually isn't a legally distinct Blue Mage, but a different experience entirely, and it has been painstakingly designed from the ground up by Mr. Ozma. For now, it caps at level 50, and there are 50 collectible monsters with their own abilities, elements, traits, and seemingly leveling system as well. You command teams of 3 alongside your own actions in combat, and at the end of the road is the Crucible of the Unbroken as an endgame experience. This is an entirely solo job with a solo endgame, and it seems to be structured like a roguelike a la Slay the Spire. They even mention that they plan on attempting to add a ranking system here to provide a layer of competitiveness for those that want to indulge. No video was shown, so really a lot of this seems interesting, but we'll have to wait and see if it really is that unique addition next live letter. But the live letter also contained a wealth of additional information. As expected, new main scenario quests, a dungeon, the Dawntrail Allied Society capstone quests, and an additional set of entries in the Hildebrand questline will all be added. There's also a new custom deliveries vendor, and the addition of duty support for the non-MSQ leveling dungeons in both Heavensward and Stormblood, namely the Dusk Vigil and Shisui of the Violet Tides. The obligatory new PvP stuff, and a confirmation of the third Final Fantasy XI themed Alliance raid, confirming that Shantoto will be involved and seemingly a boss encounter during it. The rest for the most part is up in the air. Shinryu will be the Unreal for 7.5, and Inuo is confirmed to be the Trial with his suspiciously Asian-themed sigil. Interestingly, this guy is a secret boss in certain versions of Final Fantasy V, and as his aesthetic might let on, he is exceptionally Void-themed. A lead-in to whatever may be waiting for us in 8.0? Or is it instead a case of tying up loose ends to leave that next expansion open? The next relic step was only showcased in the form of the final steps for the Dancer and Viper weapons, and actually they look clean as hell. They confirmed an additional Thavnaran ocean fishing route, a new cosmic exploration planet, a gold saucer update with what they state is multiplayer content for it, and a housing update increasing the furniture limits for 7.5. There was supposed to be an extra feature, allowing players to upgrade their housing interior sizes for those of larger buildings, but this long-promised function has been pushed back, presumably until next expansion. Blue Mage, you may notice, is absent. It is another unfortunate victim of the Beastmaster update, and has been postponed until next expansion. Some will likely be fairly disappointed by this. In the expansion that we explore the homeland of the Blue Mage, there is no Blue Mage update, and I get it. As much as it's sad to see, it's better Blue Mage takes the hit than something more substantial. But those are just the tangibles. The mood is something else entirely. The subtle mentions and references to the big things Yoshida wants to talk about but can't. That mention of something relating to data centers. Could it be Region DC? Or are they just talking about DDoS prevention? A pre-live letter showcase of some custom Warrior of Light figures that, when commercially available, will surely fund their development for the next decade. Discussion about how the armoire and die changes are just the beginning for systems, and to look forward for FanFest to hear more. The satisfaction with which he teases the ultimate reveal, which the team are saving for the North American FanFest to maximise impact. The offhand mention of next expansion's new jobs. I feel like they're sitting on something they're confident in, and a handful of announcements that are worth being excited about. So despite being mostly whelmed by this live letter, I'm feeling good. The next one should do a lot more showing and slightly less telling, and that I'm a fan of. Then we immediately go into NA FanFest and a showcase of the Ultimate and 8.0 news. Then immediately afterwards, we get patch 7.5. It's going to be a kind of insane month to be an FF14 player, and I'm all for it. Really, right now is the calm. before the storm. Thank you so much for watching this video if you made it to the end. Please do consider supporting my Patreon or becoming a YouTube member like these fine folks, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.